was born and raised to be an artist all my life. I'm one of these dudes where, you see like musicians who say, oh, by the way, I do art too. No, I'm an artist. By the way, I do music too,
Flav got problems of his own. I can't do nothing for you, man. Go lean on shells, answer, man. I can't do nothing for you, man. You jumped out of the jelly into a jam, making love the wrong instead of right. Trying to beat cat burglar through the night. The cop called your girl, her name was Cheryl. About a rooftop crime to steal a pro. Uzi down, no bullets in the gun. The judge microwaved himself to gun. The lawyers tried to help them all they can, but they couldn't do nothing for you, man. I can't do nothing for you, man.
Have you forgotten that once we were brought here, we were robbed of our names, robbed of our language. We lost our religion, our culture, our God. And many of us, by the way we act, we even lost our mind.
The Public Enemy members grew up within a few square miles of each other in the small town of Roosevelt. While hip-hop was developing on the hard streets of New York, these future political firebrands were studying at their local university. Brothers Keith and Hank Shockley ran their own sound system, Spectrum City. They made their name DJing at neighborhood parties and community centers.
Flav was the person that actually, if it's a steak, he's the A1 sauce.
That's right. And if you smell anything in here stink, it's me, because I'm the shit.
Griff is always a thinker, the organizer, the maximizer of plans.
Give that for a second. Hold up for a second. You know something we got a saying in Public Enemy? We say the legends ain't ready to leave because the kids ain't ready to leave.
Terminator X, the ultimate role player.
'70s America. Hip-hop was in its early phase, rising up from the ghettos of New York, the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Queens. The perfect environment to breed rap's most political group. But that wasn't where the Public Enemy story started. They began on the more affluent streets of New York's Long Island.
You have a group of people who grew up their first 10 years in the turbulent 1960s as kids. So assassinations that took place in the 60s, they stuck. I mean, I was in first, second grade. The president just got shot 5 years prior. Assassinations of Malcolm X when I was 5. Dr. Martin Luther King when I was 8.
Have you forgotten that once we were brought here, we were robbed of our names?
And there was a need for Public Enemy to come along and say, you could do more things with rap music. Revolution, in the easiest instance means change. And if you set out to make a difference, then you must know that there must be some holes in the terrain, and that's one thing we noticed, and that's what allowed us to just do it in the first place.
Young graphic design student Carlton Ridenhour, who called himself Chucky D, was one of the Spectrum City fans in the crowd.
He sounded clearer, more succinct. He sounded better than any of the 30 rappers that was there. And he had some wit and some intelligence to him. So I said, you know what? I needed an MC for my situation to take it to another level.
And I was like, I'm not trying to be, in the middle of that mix because, I just like to go to the gigs. I dig it. We said, nah, try this with us. And I tried it after the first weekend. I did a gig with Spectrum City, and from that point on, it was a natural fit.
Spectrum City had found their MC, and Chuck D is calling. With Chuck on the mic, the Spectrum City sound system really took off, playing all over Long Island. The group members discovered they had more things in common than just music. They all grew up in the 60s and shared a passion for politics. Most kids into hip-hop were several years younger.
It's like Hank Shockley, Professor Griff got their start here. You know, matter of fact, there was times where Keith Shockley would be spinning records or Professor Griff spinning records and Eddie Murphy would be on the microphone. And that was the beginning of Spectrum, which Hank Shockley started.
Within a few years, Spectrum City were the biggest DJ crew on Long Island with their own show on university radio station WBAU. They fast got a reputation for playing the hottest rap records. Picking up the station's signal in Queens, established hip-hop artists like Run DMC started paying attention.
We went to be interviewed at WBAU. I remember when we first walked in and it was a guy sitting there eating chicken wings out of a styrofoam container, answering the telephone. Yo, G, what's up, G? Yo, what's up, yo?
DMC had just tasted the vital ingredient that gives Public Enemy its flavor.
Flavor is the dude who presents disorder
What are you looking at? Are you feeling there?
and dissonance, spontaneity, the gift of gab, and anything goes.
Everybody thinks I'm cuckoo.
With hip-hop still in its early days, there weren't enough new records to fill up a whole radio show. So with Flavor Flav now part of the crew, Spectrum City experimented with their own music to play on the airwaves. Their early demos were an instant hit with the listeners. And it was from one of these they would take their new name, Public Enemy.
We would always go up to BAU just to hang out because it was just a beautiful scene. But then I remember when we went up there, like this probably was like the 25th time. And they, they was playing records and then they played Public Enemy #1.
What's the move, man? I was on my way up here to the studio, you know what I'm saying? And this brother stopped me and asked me, yo, what's up with that brother Chucky D? He's way nice.
1, 2, 3, down for the count, the beats, all of my lyrics, oh yes, no doubt. Cold rock, rap, 49 supreme is what I choose and I use, I never lose to a team, 'cause I...
Me and Che, we said this. We ran to Rick Rubin. Yo, you gotta hear this. You gotta hear this. We said, God has come down from heaven to rock the mic.
Rick Rubin, boss of soon-to-be legendary record label Def Jam. In the mid-80s, home to two of the biggest names in rap, Run DMC and the Beastie Boys. Always ahead of the game, Rick was keen to sign Public Enemy as soon as possible. But there was a problem.
Nobody wanted Flav, but they wanted me. And I said, well, if you're going to get me, you got to take our posse.
Chuck D forced Flavor Flav down Def Jam's throat.
Oh, Chuck, they out to get us, man. Yo, we got the Dusty Boys off.
Chuck and the group signed to Def Jam in 1986, quickly recording their debut album, Yo Bum Rush the Show. But due to the label's release schedule, the record didn't hit the stores until the following year. Hip-hop was moving so fast, rapping and production techniques were changing all the time. When the album finally came out, it was already sounding outdated. Then to make matters worse, Eric B. and Rakim blew everybody away with a slick new style.
We were happy for hip-hop, but mad that we were in the middle with an outdated, record that meant something else. But we said we gotta have a record that just dominates the streets.
They could have put their heads down. They could have given up. They didn't do any of that. They went back to the studio and they started to make the best records of their career.
Yes, the rhythm, the rebel, without a pause, I'm lowering my level. The hard rhymer, where you never been, I'm in. You want styling, you know it's time again.
Public Enemy had completely broken away from traditional hip-hop production. Gone were the conventional rhythm tracks, replaced by a jarring wall of noise.
Radio, suckers never play me. All the mix, they just okay me now, knowing and growing. When they're clocking my zone, there's no sneaking and taking everything that the brother owns.
It was innovative, it was creative, it was experimental, but above all things, it was loud.
That record ripped through the Bronx, ripped through Brooklyn, ripped through Upper Manhattan, ripped through Queens.
We said, look, if we died tomorrow, This record here is our signature.
From a rebel, it's final. A black final soul. Rock and roll coming like a rhino. Tables turn, suckers burn to learn. They can't disable the power of my label.
If we died tomorrow, this is it. No looking back. That was a relief.
How low can you go? Death row? What a brother.
Rebel Without a Pause became the blueprint for the Public Enemy sound. The group tried out their new material on the 1987 Def Jam European tour. The first gig was London, England.
It's PETV with your anchors Sherelle Winters and Flavor Flav.
Yeah, boy! Yo, bust the move!
In today's edition of PETV News, we'll explore the devastating effects drugs are having on our society in what is now termed the basehead syndrome. We'll also feature the controversial group Public Enemy and their new album, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, which is causing ruckus everywhere.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, yo, Cheryl, kick the ballistics, G!
Up front, an ultra-hyper faction known as the Brown Bags lodged a protest today against rap music.
Yo, bust this, man. Yo, listen to Flav, man. Yo, right here live, covering for the protest for PETV Live is my homeboy, Chris, man.
Yeah, I tell you.
Well, you know, Chris, all the rap noise and the violence associated with it is bringing our country to its knees, and we're not going to stand for it anymore. And we, the Brown Bags, have a plan to...
We were fortunate to come out to face the hype in the UK with an intensity that matched the hype and songs that were artillery to match the hype.
In this corner with the 98, subject of suckers, object of hate. Who's the one some think is great? I'm that one, son of a gun.
Public Enemy tore the roof off the Hammersmith Odeon. Buzzing from their European success, they returned to their Long Island studio, 510 Franklin Street, to work on their new sound. And responsible for that was their production team, the Bomb Squad.
I had amassed an incredible amount of records. Doing Public Enemy and creating the album, it was more of an experiment just to see whether or not I can take snatches of recorded music and use it in a recording, creating almost an orchestra or a band with all the samples.
Add some flavor to this, man.
So here we go, y'all. Little by little, you know. We got the power and the knowledge to move them and still, right? A super song for the cause, so.
The Bomb Squad's groundbreaking production centered on the sampler, an electronic device that allowed the user to record any sound, manipulate it, then play it back. Keith, Hank, and Eric filled their individual samplers with clips of old funk records, spending hours combining the different sounds into one new groove.
Where did they get that sample from? How did they make that sound like that? How's that DJ doing that? It was just different.
Hank Shockley gets, to me, he's like the Phil Spector of hip-hop because of his daringness to do something that's absolutely nuts at times and experiment and go for it.
Terminator exit. At the count of 3, I want y'all to tell me the name of my DJ. 1, 2, 3.
Terminator X, first and foremost, to me, was an ominous character. He was really tall, wide guy. You could never see his eyes, because he always had them glasses on, so you never could tell what state of mind he was in.
Being a DJ back there and busting out those sounds, man.
Terminator X brought to the group a style that no other DJs had.
Everybody throw your hands in the air! Terminator X! Come on, y'all! Come on, y'all! You too!
But of course, the music of Public Enemy is only half the story. Their political fire is what drives their songs. And back in Ronald Reagan's America, there was plenty to protest about if you were young and black.
It started in slave ships.
Slave ships. There are more records of slave ships than one would dream. It seems inconceivable until you reflect that for 200 years ships sailed carrying cargoes of slaves.
Be non-violent. In the face of the violence that we've been experiencing for the past 400 years is actually doing our people a disservice. In fact, it's a crime.
This is MC Light coming live and direct from PETV. In the never-ending search for the bass heads, we've come to a new hiding place. Yeah, that's right, Wall Street. This is MC Light from PETV. We're inside Wall Street searching for bass heads. Let's see what we can find. Shh.
You saw this rollback of some things happening around voter registration, turn back of some of the civil rights policies, even things as simple as lunch programs were being cut during the 1980s Reagan era.
African Americans seemed resigned to their situation. The political activism of the civil rights movement was a distant memory.
One day, Hank and I was hanging a flyer with Malcolm X on the cover of the flyer of the gig that we were presenting, and this kid comes up and says, you know, who's this Malcolm the 10th? And, you know, we looked at each other and said, well, something got to be done about that. Because if this kid thinks Malcolm X is Malcolm the 10th.
I mean, I've heard of Malcolm X, but I didn't know or wasn't that interested until like a PE record. Because I figured if PE talking about him, this dude had to be about something, you know what I mean?
Over the last 20 years, we've seen a dissolving of what has influenced us to be who we are.
When I'm pro-black radical man, been at the hour of 12. Some folks cut the power and emerged from hell. It was your so-called government that made this occur like the grafted devils they were.
What we continually try to do is spark the curiosity in people to learn about themselves, and also spark even a lot of kids, even of other ethnic creeds or whatever, to learn that the black man does have a culture and origin that should be respected.
I went to Catholic school all my life. They wasn't teaching me this in school. They was teaching me George Washington, cut down a cherry tree, Benjamin Franklin. But when Public Enemy started talking about historical figures, occasions, and instances, it was an education for a young brother.
Throughout Public Enemy's career, Chuck D said the things white America didn't want to hear. Fight the Power is one of the clearest examples. Chuck went straight for the jugular, attacking America's king of rock and roll for stealing the black man's music.
Elvis was a hero to most, but he never meant shit to me. Is he straight out racist? The sucker was simple and plain. Motherfucking in John Wayne. Cause I'm black and I'm proud.
What time it is? What time it is?
Are you ready? Now, the song is the title soundtrack for Spike Lee's brand new movie called Do the Right Thing. And we wrote the soundtrack called Fight the Power. So right now we're doing the video to the soundtrack of the movie, which I think this video is going to be macadocious, atrocious and pocious, boy.
I called them, and this is really the first rap record I've ever had in a film. And I needed a song that was going to be like an anthem. This song, Fight the Power, is in the movie Do the Right Thing like 13, 14 times. And it had to be an angry song, and I think this film is going to be the anthem this summer.
Did you write this in conjunction with Spike, with the movie, or was this separate, and then, you know, had the song already written before and it happened to work with the movie, or was it written specifically for the movie? Did you consult with Spike? How did that work out?
Yeah, we consulted. Me and Spike been working on this for about a year. You know, we sat down a year ago and came back a year later and said, hey, it is. This is a march and a rally of the young people saying, hey, this is the last straw. We're going to get together, but we're going to think on different terms, you know, and not self-destruction or not maybe destruction at all, but let's get our acts together, let's get our heads together and fight for what we got to get, and learning about ourselves so we could build a foundation on how to be black and succeed with being black in America, which works against us 24 hours a day.
I'm hyped plus I'm amped. Most of my heroes don't appear in no stamp.
And you know, when people talk about Chuck D being Malcolm X, that was the kind of stuff that was Malcolm X-esque.
I got a letter from the government the other day. I opened and read it and said they were suckers. They wanted me for their army or whatever. Picture me giving a damn, I said never. Here's a land that never.
And for their second LP, Chuck's rabble-rousing rhymes combine perfectly with the explosive Bomb Squad production to create one of pop music's all-time classic albums.
It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back is the greatest hip-hop CD or album of all time.
Falling asleep on death row. I grabbed his gun and he did what I said so. And every man's the man got served. Along with the time they served, decency was deserved. To understand my demands, I gave a warning. I wanted the governor, y'all, and plus the warden to know that I was innocent. Because I'm militant, posing a threat, you better government. My plan said I had to get out and break north. Just like Oliver's neck, I had to get off. My boys had the feds in check, they couldn't try nothing. We had a force to instigate a prison riot. This what it takes for peace, so I just took the piece. Black for black, it's our time to cut the leash. Freedom to get out to the ghetto, no sellout. 6 COs we got, we ought to put their head out. But I'll give them a chance, cause I'm civilized. As for rest of the world, they can't realize a cell is hell. I'm a rebel, so I rebel. Between bars, got me thinking like an animal. Got a woman CO to call me a copter. She tried to get away, and I popped her twice, right? Now I wanna get nice. I had 6 COs, and now it's 5 to go, and I'm serious. Call me delirious, but I'm still a captive. I gotta rap this time to break as time grows intense. I got my steel in my right hand. Now I'm looking for the fence.
Hey yo, Chuck, we got the dope plan in effect. G, word to the strength, man.
I'm looking for that fence.
Word, I got the 98 posse, Professor Griff from the S1. Yo, Chuck, we coming, man.
As I ventured into the courtyard, followed by 52 brothers, bruised, battered, and scarred, but hard. Going out with a bang, ready to bang out. The power from the sky, from the tower, shots rang out. A high number in dose, yes, and something close. I figure I trigger my steel stand and hold my post. This is what I mean, an anti-nigga machine. If I come out alive, then they won't come clean. Then I threw up, my steel bullets flew up. And to my surprise, the wall and tower blew up. Who shot what, who, what, the bazooka was who? And to my rescue, it was the S1W. Secure my getaway, so I just got away. The joint broke from the black smoke. Then they saw it was rougher than the average bluffer. Cause the steel was black, the attitude.
The politics of the time helped drive and connect perfectly with the sound.
People always say to me, well, what is it comparable to? I say it's comparable to the best work of Bob Dylan. It's comparable to Miles Davis's Kind of Blue. It's comparable to Love Supreme by John Coltrane. It's the Beatles' White Album.
I see it on their faces. First come, first serve basis. Standing on line, checking the time. Homeboys playing the curve, the same ones that used to do early.
I was mesmerized by it, you know, and I tell everyone who wants to understand hip-hop, no matter what area you're from, you've got to listen to Nation of Millions from top to bottom.
I put this together too. The bells of those that boost the dose of lack and those that sell the black. Shame on the brother when they dealing. The same block where my 98 be wheeling. And everybody know another kilo. From a corner from a brother, keep another below. And stop illing and killing, stop grilling. Yo, black, yo.
Because from there you can see the strands that created NWA and Dr. Dre.
Sucker tax is a meal for kids that make cash. Selling drugs to the brother man instead of the other man. Brother than sister. I'm talking about me.
It Takes a Nation of Millions sold 500,000 copies in its first month of release. And if you were going to drop pro-black politics on a large audience in 1980s America, you needed some muscle backing you up.
And I judge everyone, one by the one. Look, here come the judge. Watch, here he come now.
Don't say it's me, Judge. I ain't did nothing to nobody.
I can only guess what's happening. Years ago, we would have been a ship's captain. Getting me bruised on the cruise. Well, I got to lose, lost all contact. Got me laying on my back. Ruining my own leftover. When I roll over on somebody else. 90 damn days on the slave ship. Kind of falling off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 100 at a time. Blood in the wood in its mind. I'm choking on spit, feeling pain like my brain being changed. Still gotta give it what I got. It's hot in the day, it's cold in the night. But I thrive to survive. brand a label on my ass to signify I'm on. I'm on the microphone saying 50-55. How I'm living, we've been living here. Living ain't the word I've been given.
But what is the truth?
Well, the truth of the matter is that black people have been taken advantage of for the last 500 years by cruel means, and it still exists today. And matter of fact, last year's theme, Yo Bum Rush the Show, we explained to the world the black situation in America. A 1988 version of Public Enemy, and this is a story that will always get deeper and deeper and tell the truth, and the truth is harsh.
So what are you setting out to do to write this?
Well,
I don't believe the black power is not the goal.
No.
What is the goal?
The goal is a mind revolution. It's to get black people up out of the muck and mire of these wicked civilizations. What we want to do, we want to change the minds of black people so they can, number one, respect themselves so we can respect others. It's not a black power thing. We're not hung up on black power. And people hearing this coming from interviewers and asking us a question about black power, when we say that we're pro-black, a lot of people may take that as being anti-white. That's not the truth.
Brothers and sisters, this is not a test. I've been asked by Public Enemy leader Chuck D to make this emergency announcement. The police in your cities, for all intents and purposes, have declared open in black men.
Public Enemy rebel base, deep London. Where's Public Enemy?
Public Enemy was driven into the underground by forces. However, a small resistance is forming. Both Terminator X and Chuck D have resurfaced, leading a small mobile rebel unit, the Valley of the Jeep Beats. Chuck D is on his way to a closed-door press conference. Terminator X will be tapping into the government-controlled feed and decoding the message to all Public Enemy rebel bases. We are at war!
Griff, Mr. Martial Artist.
Griff had this tiny dynamo kind of vibe to him. He was the big thing in the small package.
Brother in the red beret goes by the name of Professor Griff.
You got this little guy and four guys on stage doing karate movements, marching in unison.
They are called the security of the first world. Why? Because we believe that black people are first world people.
This is the situation, I'll make you understand my place in this world and how I'm living as a black man, striving to be somebody that can be respected. Put on this earth with a gift, cause I'm elected by the G, the O, the D, it's like Doma Duval when I swing. Will you understand? It's critical, I know the subject is deep, but 434 years I can't repeat it, I teach you of the global plan, designed and hatched by the man with the mark in his head, with the mark in his hand. Now to the man on the board who has very little meaning, no hate involved, now it's time for some redeeming. Not making it tough, but you have to use your brain. Think about it. We're like pawns in the game.
It wasn't an act. These guys were for real. It's not like they hired a bunch of background dancers. The S1Ws were really the S1Ws.
The S1Ws were shocking, but what I liked about it was it showed togetherness, it showed unity.
That's what the whole thing was in my eyes. These guys are here to defend what Chuck is saying.
That serious, no-nonsense kind of demeanor, it was very needed. Number one, to show young black men that, we could be disciplined, clean, respectful, articulate, not disrespecting women.
Come on!
Black man, where is your heart? Come on! The black man is so dope, there's no reason we can't win. Everybody's gonna have to get serious.
Not spewing the madness, not doing all of the things that I guess the stereotypical image of black men, we don't have to do those things.
Ain't nothing changed, still down with Farrakhan. Yeah, some seconds tick, but still a time bomb. Blowing up, they hope you shut up. What up? Is it shaking up, baking enough? Goddamn, like a gentleman stands a man with an attitude. Some people call me rude, and when they kick out the bass in trouble, the place is in trouble. The population double, a trigger panic, the spot, the heat is on and it's hot. Like sex, Terminator, get your go. Fuck violence.
Contradicting yourself!
Come on.
Not just black or white.
Sister soldier speaking. Sisters say we're all the good black men. They're missing in action because we are at war. If the truth hurts, then you'll be in pain. If the truth drives you crazy, you'll be insane. The laws are designed so that the black man as a collective cannot get paid. As I told you before, we're at war.
Professor Griff wasn't just the hired heavy. A passionate believer in black power and the Nation of Islam, he was made Public Enemy's Minister of Information. It was his role to research political content for Chuck's lyrics and handle the press. He was also the group's tour manager, and that meant making sure the man with a big clock around his neck was on time for gigs.
It's gonna be bedlam if we get on.
And the fact that they managed to do anything together with these two guys, these two polar opposite character types in the same band, completely miraculous.
Yeah, G.
I've never smoked, never took a drink. I wasn't the party type, straight lace, so to speak.
It's gonna be bedlam if we get on.
So now I'm meeting this dude who's Chuck's friend, who's stealing cars, selling drugs, doing all this kind of stuff, and then now I have to partner up with this guy and manage that?
Yo, man, we was in this shop. Terminator showed me these things. I said, well, I'm gonna get them when I got them.
The dude never owned a set of luggage. He had plastic bags with his clothes and deodorant and toothbrush and socks and underwear in, like about 15 bags.
Like Griff, Chuck and the S1Ws didn't smoke, drink, or do drugs. By the time Nation of Millions hit the charts, Flavor Flav was into all of them.
Hit me!
There's not a minute to spare.
Don't worry.
There's not a minute to spare.
Don't worry. Gone. Now I dialed 911 a long time ago. Don't you see how late they reacting? They only come and they come when they wanna. So get the morgue truck and then bomb the corner. They don't care cause they stay paid anyway. They treat you like an ace that can't beat the tray. I know you stumble with no use people. If your life is on the line, then you're dead today. Latecomers with the latecomers stretcher, that's a body bag in disguise, y'all, I'll bet ya. I call them body snatchers cause they come to fetch you with an autopsy ambulance just to dissect ya. They are the king cause they swing amputation. Lose your arms, your legs, and limbs compilation. I can prove it to you, watch the rotation. It all adds up to a situation. So get up and get down. 911 is joking your town. Get up and get down. Late 911, where's the late crown? Get up and get down. 911 is joking your town. Get up and get down. Late 911, where's the late crown?
Tonight is the night Flav is gonna fuck up because I'm fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Fella fucked up, you know what I'm saying? Oh,
what kind of example are you to young black men that we trying to set an example for? You're doing everything opposite of what we're trying to do. We're trying to save our people, but we gotta drag you out of the crack house.
Come on, Rico.
I didn't do nothing.
No, you are doing something just as you speak, because you got those dark glasses on, you spilling orange juice all on me. Because it's all over you. You're wrong again.
The only thing that I say that drugs did to me was it made me miss some of my shows. So we tried to pull it off with just dressing up someone else's flavor, and then some guy in the front row was like this. That ain't flavor!
Here's what I want you all to do for me. Bang! Caught you looking for the same thing. It's a new thing. Check out this I bring. The roll below the level, cause I'm living low next to the base. Come on! Turn up the radio. They're claiming I'm a criminal. But now I wonder how. Some people never know. The enemy could be their friend guardian. I'm not a hooligan. I rock the party and clear all the madness. I'm not a racist. Preach to teach the office. Cause some they never had this. Number one, never wanna run about the gun. I wasn't licensed to have one. The minute they see me, fear me. I'm the epitome, a public enemy. Used, abused without clues. I refuse to blow a fuse. They even had it on the news. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. Yes, was the start of my last jam. So here it is again, another death jam.
Let me hear you say, oh!
He may have driven Griff crazy, but Flavor Flav was an essential part of Public Enemy.
I didn't think Chuck would have ever gotten across without Flavor.
Because the message was such a strong message and powerful, he kind of like offshot that with the humorous side.
I want to do my dance, man. Can I do my dance?
Yeah, do your dance. Go ahead.
Yo, I ain't got nothing to do.
Terminator X, give him a beat. Let him do his goddamn dance.
He was always like the outcast of the outcasts. Once you're the outcast of the outcasts, then how do you actually fit yourself into the world? You really don't. You kind of like have the world spin around yourself. That's Flavor Flav.
The group was a real clash of characters, but somehow it worked. Record sales climbed into their millions. They performed alongside established acts like LL Cool J, Run DMC, and Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Their success gave them a platform to preach their politics to a large audience of both blacks and whites.
Everybody say, fuck the racist. No. Y'all gotta say it with some attitude. Say, fuck the racist.
Controversy in the rap world.
We brought racism, white supremacy, and we put it right in the face of white people and say, this is what we had to deal with all our lives. Here's a mirror. Check this out.
And no, I'm not a criminal. I wasn't caught in the act. I'm a victim of a system that exploits the black. So I choose my own course of action. I grab the pen and commence to dump it back. If the bomb add meaning to life, I can't say. My sentence is real, it gets critical every day. Spending time writing appeals ain't nothing but pen strokes. Bootlicking it's like imitating white folks. Hour after hour fighting power that ain't right. The mayor's a black man fighting power that stays white. For every cop killed in a so-called line of duty, 15 blacks are killed by cops just doing the duty. Tell me if I'm wrong, tell me if I need to step back. 90% of the prison population is what?
Oh, okay, I understand. So now the dialogue is started.
But their detractors countered it was Public Enemy who were racist, inciting hatred rather than promoting equality.
I consider this motherfucker guilty. I'ma ask y'all, is he guilty?
Somebody's gonna come out and say, I'm separatist. You know, it's absolutely crazy because what rap is doing is bringing everybody together. That's why you hear the bad news about rap.
Well, just speaking for myself in rap music, you know, a lot of people in the media tends to throw us in the corner by saying, well, this is message music or political music. And we just like to say, well, we'll define ourselves. We'll say Public Enemy likes to make stressing a point music. Because when you make a message, it goes to some, and some choose to let it leave them or not listen. We say we stress a point to all, and we dish out ultimatums. You know, hey, if it ain't like this, you're going to have to deal with this.
Particularly, for example, if you were to say something that had to do with uplifting the spirits of black people or, you know, improving their ideas about themselves, that's considered messaging music and controversial.
And radical. Politics to us, to black people in this nation, just means a reflection of how we living. And also defining and also dictate how we should live, especially so in rap music, since there's a lot of words being spoken and it's just right directly under directly speaking to you. So it's just a reflection of how we living. Every day living on the streets or coming out of your crib is, you know, politics.
I know that you've heard all kinds of stories about me. That I am a racist, that I am a supporter of the KKK, that I am against civil rights, all because I oppose the Martin Luther King holiday. But I am opposed to the holiday, and I will stay opposed to it as long as I am in office. And as long as there are city officials that agree with me, there will be no holiday in this state.
This is Sister Soldier. Public Enemy, Security of the First World, and all aligned forces are traveling west to head off a white supremacist scheme to destroy the national celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. Public Enemy believes that the powers that be in the states of New Hampshire and Arizona have found psychological discomfort in paying tribute to a black man who tried to teach white people the meaning of civilization. Good luck, brothers. Show them what you got.
microphone when we're on the air doing news.
Yo, wait. Yo, man. Don't be stopping me, man. Yo, let me tell you something, man. They got my partner Chuck, you know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna free him, and you ain't gonna go see him, you know what I'm saying? Hey, yo, Griff, man, yo, later for her, man. Hey, yo, G, yo, get Terminator, pack the van, you and that's when I'm coming to get y'all, man. And we gonna get Chuck to the strip, G, you know what I'm saying? I see what you doing, baby. My vision ain't blurry, boy.
I mean, this only comes from a white supremacist viewpoint, that they don't want to see blacks and whites mixed together.
Public Enemy, in their music, kind of rebel-rousing.
Some record stores and radio shows banned their music. The group captured the mood on the track Incident at 66.6 FM, which sampled real-life listeners on a radio phone-in.
The way to get them causing people to drift up by the things you're saying. On the air. Hello?
Yes, hello.
Yes.
I've seen these guys. I saw them warm up for the Beastie Boys last year.
How were they?
I thought it was one of the most appalling things I have ever seen. There were two gentlemen in cages on either side of the stage with fake Uzis. There were, Jesus, it was unbelievable.
Now, you may never have heard of some of these stars, but your kids have. They're heroes to a whole new generation.
They claim we're products from the bottom of hell. Cause the black is back and it's bound to sell. Picture us cooling out on the 4th of July. And if you heard we were celebrating, that's a worldwide lie. Yo, Chuck, the fat data rules, man, trying to pull a 226 on you, G. Yo, man, show 'em what you got. Show 'em what you got.
This style seems wild. Wait before you treat me like a stepchild. Let me tell you why they got me on file. Cause I give you what you like. Come right in exact. I status is the status, so I care where you're at. Like, in at home, I got a call from Tony Rome. The FBI was tapping my telephone. I never live alone. I never walk alone. My posse's always ready and they waiting in my zone. Although I live the life that of a resident, but I've been knowing the scheme that of a president. Tapping my phone, whose crews abused. I stand accused of doing harm. Cause I'm louder than a bomb.
Hey, yo, D, show you on the plot.
The group's rise to the top appeared flawless, but on the inside it was a different story. Flav's drug taking affected his reliability. Confrontations with ex-military man and tour manager Professor Griff were inevitable. The story goes Griff attacked Flav, and in Flav's recent autobiography, he claims the assault left him with broken bones.
I didn't break that man's ribs like that. I punched the radio and the clock. Like destroying those things, thinking that maybe this will get through to him.
Angry and upset, Flavor Flav claims he turned up to the studio with a loaded gun.
I was about to put his lights out.
Bad relations between Flav and Griff were a continuing problem, but in 1989, things got a whole lot worse. In May, the Washington Times sent journalist David Mills to interview Professor Griff. A number of topics were discussed, but when the article was published, all the attention focused on one sentence. Griff reportedly told Mills, "Jews are responsible for the majority of wickedness that goes on across the globe." With the media scrutinizing their every move, it was a PR disaster. The resulting fallout threatened to end Public Enemy's career. It wasn't the first time Griff had brought up contentious issues in the press. The band often discussed ideas about how to regain a consciousness for African Americans, and this often spilled over into the black community's relationship with other ethnic groups. But this quote was indefensible. Did he really say those words, or were they taken out of context?
Hold it now. Oh. Come on, come on. Huh. All right, y'all. I testified, my mama cried, black people died when the other man lied. See the TV, listen to me, double trouble. I overhaul and I'm coming from the lower level. I'm taking tabs, show enough stuff to grab like shirts and it hurts. Willing neck direct, took a poll cause our soul took control from the education of a TV station.
I just finished reading The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, which was given to me by somebody in Public Enemy. This conversation was going on all the time about the control and who owns these companies and why all this group of people always doing this and controlling that and having this kind of influence. And
that talk went on all the time, every day. And that bit of information that I put in that particular interview with David Mills was given to me by somebody in the group.
Given exposure to the whole court case, it just looked fishy and looked sneaky as far as moving it out of Los Angeles into Simi Valley, which is another county in the middle of a white neighborhood, and it just looks sneaky. It looks like, it just looks like, okay, we know what kind of decision we're going to make. So a lot of incidents happen out there. For example, a big issue out there was the shooting of the girl in the Korean grocer, and people have kept it, tried to keep it down at bay. And already they have a gang situation out there that a lot of people look from afar and say, well, that's just a black neighborhood thing, and we're not worrying about it. There's a serious neighborhood problem in St. Louis, Kansas City, Atlanta, South Carolina, and various little cities. There's a big problem in Baltimore, Detroit, Chicago, Houston, you know, so I mean, and Denver, Seattle.
Whether Griff's words were reported correctly or not, the resulting media storm required swift action from the band's leader, Chuck D.
Land of the free, but the skin I'm in identifies me. So the people around me energize me. Crawl on the board this train ride. Talk about raw, hardcore, leaving frauds on the outside. But the bad thing is anyone can ride the train. And the reason for that is because we look the same. Looking all around at my so-called friends. Light skin to the brown, the black. Here we go again. Homie over there, no keeping. But he be thieving. I don't trust him, rather bust him up. Out goes his hand and I cross. He was stole for me. Yeah, I wanna cut it off. The black thing is around a call a night train. If I'm the good, the bad, we call them looking train to attack the black, and it's true. Cause some of them looking just like you.
I remember being around at that time, you know, and how tough that decision was for Chuck. It was difficult. I mean, think about it. They were the biggest rap group and one of the biggest pop groups in the world at that time, and you're told you got to get rid of one of your best friends out of the band because of his anti-Semitism. That's a lot of weight.
Nobody wants to go around being called anti-Semitic because I think it's a game that the press likes to also play, because you have to find the reasons why each and every black person associated with Public Enemy is anti-Semitic. And so it's something that they could play with and make fun out of and just keep on building up because they find it interesting to sell papers or TV programs. But as far as Public Enemy is concerned, that's a ridiculous statement.
It was a total mess.
Public Enemy's mission to change the consciousness of a generation was about to be wrecked by one interview. Chuck had to act to save his group. He released a statement, apologized, and sacked Griff. Most bands would have buckled under the strain, but Chuck responded to the Griff situation with typical style, head on. In their next album's standout track, Welcome to the Terradome, Chuck vented his anger, reigniting the whole argument.
Public Enemy didn't come to mainstream attention until recently, when one member of the group made explicitly anti-Semitic remarks. There was a furor, the group apologized. But then, in their latest rap, these words.
Crucifixion ain't no fiction. So-called chosen, frozen, apology made to whoever pleases. Still you got me like Jesus.
Released in 1990, Fear of a Black Planet continued the political rage of their previous album.
I can't walk in the park just because I'm dark. Wasn't blue in the crew, sweating me and I'm through with the crap.
As well as preaching the teachings of black nationalists, they also tackled many social issues that affected African American communities, like the treatment of blacks by the police in Anti-Nigger Machine, emergency call response times in 911 is a joke, and the stereotyping of black people in the movies on the track Burn Hollywood Burn.
Check out a movie, but it'll take a black one to move me.
If Def Jam were worried about the Griff scandal's effect, they needn't have been. Fear of a Black Planet was a top 10 album on both sides of the Atlantic. Public Enemy were more popular than ever. The group went on tour with big-name artists like U2. They even had a presence in the Hollywood blockbuster Terminator 2. Lead character John Connor wore their t-shirt throughout the movie. They further crossed over to rock fans with their fourth hit album in a row, Apocalypse 91, The Empire Strikes Black. It featured a new version of Bring the Noise with thrash band Anthrax. Rap metal was born.
They'll never care for the brothers and sisters right across the country has us up for the war. We got to get them straight. Come on now, they're gonna have to wait till we get it right.
Chuck still refused to rein in his political preaching. The album also included a track which caused another media outcry. It was clear Chuck had lost none of his political drive. But as the 90s rolled on, the group lost their momentum. Griff was long gone, the Bomb Squad were working on other projects. Flav's personal demons saw him regularly in jail, and by the time Public Enemy's 5th album came out in 1994, hip-hop was changing too.
Damn, word, man, just come pulling us over, you know what I'm saying?
Let me see your license.
Yo, man. Look,
You seem to be a problem, man? Yeah, you might be the problem. Chuck D. Ain't you got no last name? Boy.
Boy stuff, man. Yo, man.
Hey, where y'all going anyway?
Yo, we going to the beach, G.
To the beach, huh?
To the beach, man.
Y'all know what happened down there about this time last year, don't you?
You know, we do whatever we do to survive, bro.
Drop!
I started noticing in 91, 92, wait a minute, they're showing a lot more videos that are not the kind of substantive stuff that Public Enemy and other groups were doing.
It's on, from the air wars to the ozones. That's clown fools. You know what I'm saying? So what's up? It's on. Downtown at the presidential campaign.
Talking that drop watch. Everybody talking that gangster. Talking that drop watch. Everybody talking that gangster. Slaves to the rhythm of the master. Boom, boom, another neighborhood disaster. Drummer hit one. A gun is a gun is a gun, but an organized side keep us on the run.
The corporation seized it by the throat and threw it down the tubes of like gangster became marketable. It became contrived.
500 FBI agents coming after us with a license to kill. 30 mil, claiming it's just a drug bust.
They thinking they're making a fly switch, replacing the double for the witch. 30. Reach up and the reach, gotta reach. Power to the people and the beats. Some people are accused, some people of crime, some people get away with losing my rhyme. They don't like where I'm coming from, so they play dumb. Dumb diggity dumb, diggity dumb. Well, I'm telling you what they do. Everybody plays a fool while a real thief cools in a pool. Yeah. Hill got the finger on the war button. Talking loud, ain't saying nothing. TV got him bigger than life. All he needs is a knife. Who the criminal? Blind, deaf, and dumb. Hard to see them coming, but they come. Here they come. Don't be dumb, diggity dumb. Politicking right, bad checks. Still they getting wrecked. Going for a neck. Rolling in a blue and white gang. Ready to bang, biggity bang. Hanging around the hanging rope. Nope. N-O-P-E. I ain't been it for the soap. Never understood why the hood half a who's in the joint. Now they got me losing my point. Gotta have it going on. Born criminal, born.
I'm not a conspiratorial theorist, but I definitely believe that someone said enough of this Public Enemy stuff. These guys have got to go, you know what I mean, in whatever form that means. And, you know, eventually they were off the radio.
Since then, Public Enemy have taken their career into their own hands. They were one of the first bands to release an internet-only album in 1999. And from 2005 onwards, they put out records on their own label, Slam Jams. Their latest material proves they've lost none of the fire that fueled the early days.
Did a generation of young whites vote for him? Because they were brought up on hip-hop. Did we have something to do with that? Of course we did.
One of the greatest musical entities in history is Public Enemy. You don't believe me? Go listen to the record.
Was it something I said? Pretend you don't see, so you turn your head. Ray scared of his shadow, doesn't matter. Thought of reparations, got him playing with the population. Nothing to lose, everything's approved. People use, even murders excused. White men in suits don't have to jump. Still 1,001 ways to lose with the shoes. God takes care of old folks and fools, while the devil takes care of making all the rules. Folks don't even own themselves, paying mental rent to corporate presidents. 1 out of 1 million residents. Be a dissident who ain't kissing it. The politics of chains and whips got the sick missing chips and all the championships. What's love got to do with what you got? Don't let a win get to your head or a loss to your heart. Nonsense perseveres, prayers laced with fear. Beware, 2-triple-O is
It might feel good, it might sound a little something, but damn the game if it don't mean nothing. What is game? Who got game? Where's the game in life? Behind the game, behind the game. I got game, she got game, we got game, they got game, he got game. It might feel good, it might sound a little something, but the game if it ain't saying nothing.
Something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there.
Yeah, that's right.
Telling me I got to beware. It's time we stop, children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Thought of that millennium just be killing them. That's scary, like lies buried in a library. When did the state pen correct anything? When piles of us still be catching the bus. When stacks of cats packing laundry mats. Pay the preachers back, but where the teachers at? I ain't even gotta ask it. And who's underpaid that got fouled at the basket? I can't blame the India who be getting all the Benjis and taking them grants for granted. Last I checked, pyramids wasn't built like projects or on them government checks. Modern day thugs ain't got no guts. Pardon the expression under governor nuts. Last time in the church be the last time in the church. Dead pledged allegiance to CDs and movies. Leaving reality, believing fantasy. Bleeding fatalities, too many formalities. Prayers laced with fear, beware. 2-0-0 is here.
It might feel good, it might sound a little something, but damn the game if it don't mean nothing. What is game? Who got game? Where's the game in life? Behind the game, behind the game. I got game, she got game, we got game, they got game, he got game. It might feel good, it might sound a little something, but the game if it ain't saying nothing.